I'll tell you one more story. This was at a worship conference that I was at. I was talking to a friend, and she was asking me advice on their worship ministry. And they go to a fairly large church. They're in Kentucky, and they have some incredibly talented people on the stage. But it is almost as if the more talented the person, the more problems they're having with them, right? They're not showing up on time. They're not prepared. They're winging it. It's like there's a different standard for the people who are more talented because they can kind of get away with it. And then Sunday morning comes along and they're able to perform well on a Sunday morning. But the team dynamic is off. Everybody's getting frustrated because everybody feels like they're trying to keep up with the high skill level, but also they're trying to establish a worship culture that these talented musicians are not for. This is not, it's super involved. It's just a place for them to play on a Sunday morning. So my advice to this lady was to at least give these people sabbatical. It's two guitarists in particular. Give them a sabbatical, let them hop off the stage. You've got acoustic instruments. If it was a guitar and a drummer, it's like, well, let's do something for a few months in an Americana style. You're in Kentucky, you're in the South. People will love it, and do away with the tracks and see what you can do. Now, I don't think they took my advice, but that being said, sometimes a little shock to the system where people realize we don't actually need you in order to be successful on a Sunday morning. Sometimes that's enough to get somebody's attention and be like, why am I doing this? Why, what is the point of all of this? Right. And so giving people a break and then giving them very clear expectations of how they can get back onto the stage is incredibly good. This is something that I've seen Passion City do very well. They have a specific standards guideline that they use, and if somebody is falling short of the standards and of the guidelines, they take them off the stage. They have a conversation with them. And they say, look, we want to see you be restored, and this is how you become restored back onto the stage, and here are the steps, and then they walk with them through them in order to get them back onto the stage. And I think that's a really good way to do it. Now, if you're making standards like that, the one thing I would recommend for you is to have two different categories. If you're making a list or a contract or whatever, a set of rules for ministry on the stage, I think that's a wonderful thing to have, but you need two different categories. The first category, what is a conversation? And two, what will get you kicked off the stage? Right? If we see A, B, C, and D, then we're going to have a conversation about it. If it's something like dress code, or if it's something like, well, somebody heard you say a bad word in the hallway, and then you're getting up on stage talking about glorifying God, like we need character to be the same in both places. Let's have a conversation about that, but it may not disqualify you from being on the stage. But there are some things that could absolutely disqualify you from being on the stage, and so you need to just talk through with your leadership, talk through as a team, what are those things, what are the standards, and how are we going to prepare ourselves and prepare our team in the future of our team. What is the culture of the worship team that we want to have that helps us be able to self-govern, keep each other accountable, and be able to be on stage in fullness of joy and fullness of confidence, and not without distraction, and worship the Lord in spirit and in truth, and lead our people really well in that. And so, what's going to get you kicked off the stage immediately? What are the things that you're going to have a conversation about? Now, if you do that, you also have to then do something about it when those things are broken, because they will be broken over the course of time. If you say you're going to have a conversation about dress code and then somebody comes in dressed inappropriately, you have to have a conversation about dress code. Or if they are not allowed on the stage, if they're not according to the dress code, then you have to say, I'm sorry, but the dress code which you were given, which you signed, which you were aware of, you're not meeting it right now. So I need you to either go change, or you can't be on the stage today. But next week, totally fine, you know. And so you've got to stick with it, because the whole goal is not just to keep people to rules. And that's another thing, is you're going to have to really talk to people about the rules and be like, look, it's not for the sake of just having more rules. We're trying to establish a culture. We're trying to establish a way of leadership that is honoring to the Lord and beneficial to the church. And you've got to keep that in front of your people at all times. Otherwise, they're going to lose sight of it. It's going to seem really legalistic, and nobody's going to want to be a part of it, because it's just going to be like, well, it's only the people who, dot all the I's and cross all the T's. You can't be a failure in any way. And you don't want to ever produce anything fake, right? You don't want to encourage people to be fake. You want to encourage them to be real, but you also want to encourage them to have a standard of excellence, have a standard that honors the Lord, that is accurate to the culture of your current church and is accurate to the culture that you're trying to produce in your church. And if you can hit that line, and if you can keep people to it, you'll really see a lot of drama be dealt with naturally, because people will self-edit themselves, or they'll correct each other along the way, and somebody in leadership won't always be pulled into the conversation. So it's my encouragement to you. If you are dealing with drama, I'm sorry, it's hard, and it's ongoing. I think it's hard because it's not it's always a slow process. It's not just something you can deal with once, but it's something that you have to deal with over and over the course of a lot of time and conversations. And so my prayers with you: continue to do the hard work, continue to do the good work, and continue to press forward and see the Lord create a culture that looks like heaven, create people who look and act and feel like Jesus, and you'll see some really great benefits out of your worship ministry because of that.